All right, wonderful people, welcome back to this wonderful channel where we'll bring you back-to-back updates and information as it is hot. In case it's your first time of joining us on this wonderful channel, kindly go ahead and subscribe, like, comment, share, and also remember to on your notification button so that whenever our news drop, you will be the first to collect them. Let's go down to the news proper as it is hot. You don't share for the Obodo. After 58 years, Biafra 58 years after General Effiong Ojukwu's deputy's prediction about Biafra's resurrection is coming to pass. After the 1967 to 1970 Nigeria Biafra Civil War, the then government that took over, even during the government of Ibrahim Babangida and the rest of them, they made sure that history was wiped out of the educational curriculum in Nigeria. History and cultural studies were wiped out, which was replaced with social studies education, which deals with civic and the rest of them. And the intention of the past then government was to, erase the memory of the war, the memory of the chaos, the memory of the 1967 to 1970 Biafra Civil War, to erase it from the people. Even now, there is supposed to be a red in the flag of Biafra, even though, in the flag of Nigeria, that shows bloodshed and war, but it's still green, white, green. But you can see in that of Biafra, you can see the red, you can see the black, you can see the green, which represents the soil, you can see the rising sun and the rest of them. After that particular time, Philip Effiong Ojukwu's deputy predicted that a time will come, even though the government have put into meticulous work to make sure that that history is erased from the mind of the people, after years, and now it has resurrected again. It looks as if a generation were born again with the same vision, with the same ideology. There has never been a time the push for secession, the push for independence state of Biafra has been pushed than in this present age. The age of Mazina Dekano, age of Simon Ekpa, and a lot of people, DOS, Ngozi Orabweze, Ogenkere, and every other people who are truthfully pushing that the nation called Biafra should come to pass. And the government have seen that ideology cannot be killed. The government has seen that wiping out history from educational curriculum even did much bad, because had it been that these courses were taught, this history were taught in school, people would have seen the consequences of war, the consequences of using the barrel of gun, even though that there had not been any history where independence was truly gotten without the barrel of gun. America did theirs for 30 good years with the British government before they properly got their independence. Most of the independence we have here in Africa, in Nigeria, in Chad, in Congo, Kinshasa, Congo, Zaire, in Mali, in Burkina Faso, in Ivory Coast, Ghana, name them, all the African countries is a negotiated. Liberia, all these places, their independence were negotiation, of which you know that the federal, the colonial masters, or the countries that colonized each of these African countries, still have a say. In Liberia today, America still decides who becomes the president. In Ghana, it's still the same thing. In Nigeria, it's still the same thing. Whoever will become president in this nation must go to London first. And if you doubt me, 2027 is coming. Whoever goes to London, becomes the president, because that is where every single thing is decided. Let's go down to full detail of the information of the day. On May 30th, 1967, Colonel Emeka Ojukwu, then governor of the defunct southeast region of Nigeria, declared the independence of the Republic of Biafra from Nigeria. His action followed the targeted mass killing of Igbo people in northern and western Nigeria, otherwise known as the pogrom of 1966. The birth of the new secessionist nation was met with resistance from the federal government, leading to the 30 months Nigeria Civil War. 58 years after, the Publicity Secretary of the Indigenous People of Biafra, IPOB, a group championing the realization of a sovereign state of Biafra, Mr. Imapafo, speaks on Biafra and what it means to the Igbo both historically and in contemporary times. He explained why the Biafran spirit is believed to be alive long after the collapse of the Republic in 1970. IPOB is aware that this is the 58th anniversary of the Biafra Declaration by the Eastern Consultative Assembly, led by our eternal leader, the late Dim Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu. The Biafra Declaration was significant because it marked the beginning of the Biafra self-determination movement. It was made in the interest of Biafrans who were targeted for elimination in the northern and western region of Nigeria. The pogroms against Biafrans were driven by envy and jealousy. Only a tree watches idly while it is about to be cut down. As a proactive leader, our eternal leader Dim Ojukwu, in consultation with Eastern Region Assembly, had to declare Biafra as an independent nation to protect Biafrans from annihilation. However, the Biafra Declaration did not go down well with the Nigerian state and their British masters. They declared a genocidal war of extermination against the young and unprepared Biafran nation, but the Biafran leader, General Ojukwu, and other Biafran heroes fought a war of self-preservation to stop the planned ethnic cleansing and annihilation of Biafran. That is why IPOB annually remembers and honors those Biafran heroes who made irreparable sacrifice for us to be alive in our ancestral lands today. Biafra to Biafrans represents liberation from hate, jealousy, envy, ethnic cleansing, state-sponsored terrorism, political exclusion, political hooliganism, and economic servitude. The prayer of 98% of Biafrans today is for Biafran independence to Ndi Igbo and other indigenous Biafrans. Nigeria represents slavery and hopelessness. Though your question assumed that the Biafran nation consists only of the Igbo, Biafra actually consists of ethnic nationalities across 13 states in present-day Nigeria. Ndi Igbo is just one of the tribes that make up the Biafran nation. It is true that the majority of those at the forefront of the Biafra independent movement are Igbos, but that does not mean that non-Igbo Biafrans are not part of the struggle. In fact, Biafra is made up of people from the old Eastern region, Midwest region, and Ndi Igbo in Kogi and Benue states. General Ojukwu and the Eastern Consultative Assembly took the right decision in declaring Biafra independence in 1967 to save Ndi Igbo and other Biafran from pogroms and annihilation. Is there any father who will watch idly while his children are being killed? In fact, the same scenarios that necessitated the 1967 Biafra Declaration still prevail in today's Nigeria. The political and economic exclusion of Biafran has extended into every sector, including education. Biafrans in the past and even today have been victimized and excluded by the Nigerian government. The late Ojukwu's second-in-command, the late General Philip Effiong, warned the Nigerian government to treat the surrounding Biafrans well or risk a new generation rising up to demand Biafra again. Unfortunately, the Nigerian state and the British have vowed never to treat Biafrans as equal, even though Biafran resources are the main sustainer of Nigeria. Nigerian state has continued with marginalization, nepotism, and tribalism against Biafrans. The new generation of Biafrans led by our leader Mazen Nnamdi Kanu through a peaceful IPOB movement, has come to demand what is rightfully ours. The independent state of Biafra. Nigerian government must understand that the fight for Biafra self-determination will not stop until Biafrans are given the opportunity to decide their political future via the referendum. If Nigeria wins, we will stop the agitation. IPOB has chosen the non-violent approach. Who knows what approach the next generation will choose if this peaceful offer is ignored? At the beginning of the genocidal war, the Nigeria-Biafra Civil War, the British and Nigerian government and their allied forces were amazed that a young nation with no military might could withstand their power for 30 months. They thought Biafrans would be pushovers, but they were surprised by how gallantly Biafrans fought. However, Britain and Nigeria promulgated punitive and barbaric laws that blockade aid and relief materials from reaching Biafra territory. They used starvation, especially on children, as weapon of war, which is a war crime under international law. This starvation policy was the major reason the Biafran soldiers eventually surrendered, the murder of over 3.5 million Biafran children through starvation backed by Britain and Nigeria, weakened the resolve of our gallant soldiers. Unfortunately, Britain used its international political muscle to block any investigation into the Biafra genocide, but no empire lasts forever. Biafra will remain an open wound in the minds of Nigerians and the world until injustice and genocide against Biafrans are discussed and addressed. Biafra will remain a significant issue at the international, national, and regional levels until Biafrans are given the right to self-referendum. Through a referendum, every sensible Nigerian knows that the so-called unity of Nigeria is a fluke. The earlier we admit this and allow Biafrans and other willing nations to exist is better for all of us. Yes, the hatred and marginalization of Biafrans that began around the time of Nigeria's independence are still present today. That's why the issue of Biafra independence must be urgently discussed and not ignored. Ndị Igbo, who are the arrowheads of the struggle, are being targeted, harassed, intimidated, excluded, and terrorized by security agencies and terrorists. Look at how the Nigerian government is treating unarmed IPOB leader Mazen Nnamdi Kanu. They have proxies in the southeast to commit crime. The ethical cleansing and terrorist activities are ignored by the media, yet fake news aimed at blackmailing IPOB and Kanu spread rapidly. The same media blackmail was used in the 1960s to paint hardworking Biafrans as villains, which led to the profiling and mass slaughter of Biafrans in the north. All right, this is coming from Mazi Powerful, who has came up to, he has said a lot of things, opened up on what is actually happening. And that Philip Efion's, should I call it a prophecy or maybe a foresight, is actually happening today. All right, this is where I've wound down the curtain. Thank you for listening. God bless you.